on teaching and researching digital communication. He's produced a model, he's created a model for producing mobile content, and he's going to tell you a bit about that and give you this morning a very fast primer on how to set up a video interview, specifically using a mobile device, which is what we're talking about today, and then a quick overview of some editing steps so that you can refine that video, again, all on your mobile device. So I'm very pleased to introduce Professor Ron Yaros.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
You have your mobile devices in hand, I take it. We only have an hour and an hour and a half, I believe. So we're going to be starting with you actually interviewing a partner nearby, so we hopefully have an even count here. Yes, we're going to focus mainly on the production of professional quality mobile interviews. There are basically 6 key things that you have to think about within a second or less as you are actually pointing and shooting. Anyone can point and shoot. First thing I tell my students. We've all shot video. We've all looked at YouTube. How do you do it professionally? And that's the first part of the equation. The second part, as was mentioned, which I'm really working on, is that since 25% of Americans now use their mobile phone exclusively for online content, no longer the desktop, no tablets, they're using only their phone for online content. My concern is how do we best produce and present this content to those smaller screen users. But we won't have a whole lot of time to talk about that. We're going to start with you interviewing your partner now, and we'll have to spread out. But what I want you to do is to ask your partner why they're taking this class today. Keep it a few seconds, and let's just see what you get. Let's just see where you start. So it gives us a baseline on which to improve, and in another few minutes after we go through all the steps, we'll see who did what they thought was the best way to produce video and what are ways to improve it. So I think maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
We're even around the table.
Okay, good. How about these 6 going out of the room? Yeah. And you may either sit or stand, but you are going to interview each other using a mobile app. How many people do not have a native mobile app? I'm starting very, very basic here with the actual video app that came with your device. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many people work in television?
Yours was 19.
It's letting me do it now.
Okay,
I trimmed it.
thank you. Good idea.
I'm here today to take this class because I didn't know there was a native camera app on my phone. I need a lot more help just figuring out how to use this thing.
I don't mean to embarrass you, I hope, if I'm going to show some of the examples, but they're excellent examples already. And we also have a couple of excellent events that have just occurred. You on this hands-on, live, unexpected, extemporaneous exercise. What are some of the take-home messages already that we've learned? Problems, issues, unexpected, anything.
I need to know more about lighting, because I thought she looked great in front of the window, but maybe that's...
Excellent. Okay. Lighting is definitely one of the 6. What's another?
Audio.
What about it?
There's a lot of ambient noise.
Yes. Basically, technically speaking, the microphones suck on these mobile devices. It is the least impressive part of this mobile device. Video is awesome, 1080p, high definition. Audio is limited. So that's another important second issue. Yes?
What do you mean? Use the rule of thirds or...
What is the rule of thirds?
6.2.
It said instead of dividing
I
an
said we
image in
should-
half,
Yeah.
it should be divided into thirds.
Okay, is this a rule of thirds?
No.
Why not?
Why are you taking this class?
It's right in the middle.
Because when I'm famous, I want to make sure I look good on camera and really
Good video though, right? I mean, good video quality. But yeah, that's right. If you are a blogger and you're ranting and raving, or you're a reporter at your desk and you want to just talk directly to your audience, this is perfectly fine, and we see this a lot. But on television, if you're going to be on tonight's news, you would have the rule of thirds that would suggest that two things. One, it's a lot easier and a little bit more pleasing to the eye if this person's off to the right a little bit, looking into open space, not talking at me directly, but off to you, the reporter. So that's number one. And number two, at least in my experience, the interviewees who have not particularly been interviewed a lot or in general never had a mobile device pushed in front of their face feel a lot more comfortable talking to me as I am holding my device and acknowledging and pretending as though I'm interested in what they are saying. So there are two benefits of that, which we will discuss in a minute. What's another one? Up here in the front, I know we had a little of a technical issue. What was that?
Yes, it takes a little bit of time, at least on my iPhone, for the video to fully be available. Like, I was ready to email it out to you, and it was just still...
Rendered.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it has to process it, and there's another thing when you were saying that it was not uploading because it was too long.
Oh, yeah.
These things, of course, unlike a nice over-the-shoulder camera, have very limited memory. So you're not going to be able to do a 60 minutes interview for 10 minutes without your app suddenly closing. And here's a hint. If your video app suddenly closes, you've run out of memory. That is the limitation of these devices. So next time you go to Best Buy or whatever, you're going to check out the phone with the biggest, the mother of all memories if you can afford it. But traditionally speaking, as you just purchase the standard device, we still have only maybe 10 minutes of video max. And of course that's related to how many other media, photos, videos you also have on your device. So if you're finding as though the video is too long, you can trim it. And if your app's closed and you run out of memory, hopefully you will be able to delete some of the other media, the other photos from the holiday get-together, the family, the party, whatever it is that hopefully you could part with, because you'll need to clear up your memory for this journalism exercise that you're engaged in. What are other issues, comments, problems, observations? Yes?
I haven't even seen my video yet, but I know a lot of times when I'm on camera, I get fish eyes, and I don't want to blink. So I think you have to remember to try to be natural.
Yes?
So something.
Yeah, that's something I can't give you in an app. That's going to be your style. That's going to be how comfortable you are.
I'm taking this class because one day I'm going to be walking down the street and something amazing is going to happen, and I'm going to open my phone and I'm going to think to myself, I've only taken still pictures. How the heck do I do a video story real quick and send it in so I can get on the air? That's why I'm taking this class.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. That's exactly what I try to tell my students. Again, they come in saying, oh, anyone can take video. Well, what if you have 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds? What if there's an active shooter, a building on fire, a person who is in need of some sort of help, and you're seeing a gathering of individuals, and you need to get this live video either on your newspaper site, your website, or back to the station.
That's actually happened to me.
Explain that.
When I worked in TV in Chicago, it was the 2011 blizzard when Lakeshore Drive got snowed in.
I remember that.
So I worked from home that day, and after my internet cut out and I couldn't work anymore, we went for a walk on Lakeshore Drive, and where it was snowed in, no news cameras could actually, a news truck couldn't get on the road, whereas I could walk on the median of Lakeshore Drive. So I took video with my phone and emailed it to the station, and they could have it on the air.
Right.
And it was a truck couldn't get there, but because these phones were good enough, it was HD quality.
Yeah, it's professional quality video, which is really another good reason why you should definitely be doing what you're doing here, because you're able to capitalize on the quality of the video, but yet we don't run around looking at things and people and events with our phones and really thinking about these 6 key elements that I am going to be reviewing with you shortly.
Tell me why you're here today. I'm here today because I have very little familiarity with video, and I'm really interested.
Okay, so rule of thirds. We know where she is. There's that establishing shot with the sign. I'm going to just go through, I can't play all of them because of the shortage of time, but I definitely want to.
I didn't answer the right question.
Why are you taking this fellowship?
Now listen to the audio. Yeah, so there are 2 things going on here. Again, the take-home message from the audio, and even mentioned earlier with the lighting, is this. We have our human ears and our human eyes that can easily compensate for that light in the window there, or our ears hearing ambient noise, but able to differentiate the fans, the air conditioner, the blower on the projector, other people in the room, and we're looking at that individual and we're able to focus in on it. Of course, the microphone is just a device that will pick up everything that it hears, and the camera will pick up everything that it sees. And unless you have that auto contrast set, it's going to look at that window. I might interview someone here, and behind that person will be, with that sun, they're probably looking as though it's thermonuclear war going on outside. It's too bright. It's going to be putting their face into much darker contrast. And the audio, as we just heard, that's going to naturalize, or it's called automatic gain control. It's going to bring up everything in the room that the microphone wants you to hear, even though we don't want to hear the other 15 people in that conference or in that room or meeting room, whatever it is. So the key, the absolute most important thing that I'm going to emphasize is audio. And the only way you can do good audio is to practice what I consider to be a very somewhat unnatural and definitely a position that no one else probably has ever shown you, or a position you've never really used as you were recording video, because the typical position is this. And so that's definitely what you don't want to do. Let's start with the 6 things. What do you think is the absolute most important element besides, I'll emphasize audio, but when you are beginning to frame your subject, what do you think the first rule would be? Someone actually mentioned it earlier about how you hold.
Have the microphone.
Horizontal aspect ratio.
Horizontal, never this. Okay, you'll flunk today's class if you ever do this. Horizontal at all times. Why? Matches the ratio of YouTube and the TV screen, flat screens, computer screens. If you do vertical, you're going to have 2 ugly bars, black bars, on both sides, because it's trying to compensate for that horizontal ratio. Yes.
Are you surprised or impressed that so far all of our videos have been horizontal?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm probably... Should I go through and see if anyone did vertical or no? No.
That's just mean.
Okay. Yeah, it is. One more. Yeah, you should. Don't worry about it. Okay, so that's number 1. In less than 1 second, when you do this again, in 1 second, you're going to have to think of the 6 different things I'm about to review with you. So number 1, always horizontal. Number 2, which was the emphasis I placed on a few seconds ago, which was audio. We definitely want to hear this excellent person, this source on your very high quality video, and you could have the best video in the world, and if we can't hear them, you'd either have to go back and say, can I interview again? I didn't get the good audio, or you'll have captioning for the hearing impaired and below of your screen so we can understand what it is that person is saying as we see their mouth move. But audio is absolutely crucial. Now, if you are working for a rich news organization, there are many different things that you can purchase that will assist you with good audio. These are add-ons. So things like a shotgun microphone, that if I'm using either my phone or an iPad mini, this is going to definitely enhance that audio, because it's a very directional shotgun. It will reduce the ambient sounds, and so if you can converse with your bosses and say, we just need to spend a few $100s for some good mobile equipment, if that's worth it to you, it's available.
How much is that?
This was about $49, $59. It's not very much.
Where'd you get it?
Photo Jojo. Photo Jojo is that. It's the little hole that you typically would use for your earphones, and it doubles as both an in and out.
So you're putting it over the...
Into the earphone jack, yeah. So it would be, it would be at the bottom, and it would still point outward.
And that does enhance the audio. And I've played around with some different types of mics, and some of them just, are $30 or $40 and don't really.
Yeah, I agree, and I've tried the same for the class. To be honest with you, ideally I do prefer a handheld microphone with a cord that plugs into my device so that I can, if I'm going to ask a question on camera, or at least while I'm recording, I could move that back to my mouth. I guess you call that a mouth, right? And it would allow you that flexibility if you're going to ask more than one question.
Is there anything that you've seen that splits audio so you could be mic'd at the same time that your interviewee would be mic'd? So you wouldn't have to do this?
I believe it is available. I believe I've seen an adapter that if you put it into your microphone jack, it will provide two different adapters. So
And
you
just
could
kinda
either
work them in.
listen to them and be listening to them on, you could be recording their audio and listening to them on earphones, or this is a good thing to try this week. I'm assuming that you could have two microphones and you would have both. So that's a good question, yeah.
I was just going to ask, what do you think about the quality of the flip cameras? Do you like using those at all? No.
Droid and iPhones clearly have the best resolution, and arguably iPhone is still ahead, not only in its quality, but its number of apps that you can use for editing, including on-site editing, and it also includes just a lot more flexibility and usefulness to the journalist. So, if you're a Droid person, I'm not trying to diss you, but Apple just happens to be. Not only do I own a stock in Apple, but I definitely think that Apple is is the leader at the moment. There's no conflict of interest here.
I knew I liked you.
Yeah. Okay, so the audio. How do you think, without these gizmos, you could compensate for?
Put your hand around it. You can cup your hand. Sometimes I've done it like this.
Really? Oh, I've never
Or you
seen
can,
that.
Like those weird rubber things that enhance, that you can put your phone in if you're playing music. They will enhance.
It looks
sometimes
like an
enhance
old
it.
phonograph.
Oh yeah, one of those big round. I never tried that, and I'll have to try that to see if the hand, particularly my small hand, would really be effective in being.
It's like minor in a pinch.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It can work.
Well, if you look at the back of your device right now, before I extend it in the way that I'm going to suggest you do it for the best possible audio, notice where your camera is. In my iPad or my iPhone, the camera is in the upper left-hand corner here, this little round hole. I would never hold it like this, where the camera is lower than the person's eye level. So keep that in mind. I would always try to make sure the camera's at the top, and because the apps adjust for you, you could conceivably, inadvertently shoot with the camera much lower. But just a point of note that the cameras at the top would tend to be more eye level and would be better. But as far as audio, would you mind standing? Because I'm so tall, this is how I would interview people. I'm extending the device as close as possible to her mouth. If I was doing the traditional one, I'd be like this, of course, trying to get close. That would it would invade her personal space. And I'm telling her to look at me, which you are. I'm able to see the screen, so I'm seeing what I'm framing. I'm able to acknowledge what she's saying, and I'm listening very closely. But the microphone is within arm's length of her mouth. This is an awkward position for the starting mobile journalist. They're not used to this, but it is the way to compensate for the limitations of the device. And it still provides us with the ability to see the frame, so I can make sure that, for instance, that person's rotating on a swiveling chair, or they're moving around or whatever. I'm still able to look at her, listen to her, frame it, and maintain good audio. So this, if you're doing this, you might as well do this. The whole point of extending it is to get the device closer to her mouth. Questions?
Yeah, you said arm's length, but you're like a foot from her head. Two questions there. Actually, one question. Can you see on the screen? Can you
Yeah. Yeah, why don't you stand over here?
Want me to stay here?
Yeah, you're in the light, aren't you? Why don't you all here as well? And I probably should.
selfie?
Turn the camera, yeah, selfie. Okay, so look at me.
Oh.
And eye level, okay. And right about like that would be ideal. And so I'm able to see, of course I'm looking back and forth between her face and the screen. Notice that she's a little bit off center, looking into the open air space. This is really, I don't know why, but most of my students don't really get this position where they need to be standing. They're typically, let's see if I can duplicate it. Yeah, they're kind of like this many times, where she's talking off screen. And so the rule is you stand where the airspace is. She's looking to her right. I'm standing right here where the airspace is, where she's talking. Make sense? Thank you. Let's hear it for our excellent interviewee. That is the key. Again, all the other things I'm about to talk about might produce really good video, but if we don't hear the audio, it's not going to be professional, and it's not going to be the best it can be, which is what you are here for today.
What if you want like your questions to be heard on the video?
Then I think you're going to have to be as steady as possible and get a little closer like this. But I mean, it's in paramount, of course, if we hear that person. So if you are able to edit, my suggestion is to edit your questions out. I'm assuming you're going to write a little bit of text with it and post it online. I don't know, but that's what my students do. I always like to marry some text with videos and what I call explanatory photos and so forth, and make a multimedia story that's engaging to the mobile audience, which will typically watch a video for, anybody want to guess what the average video time, viewing time is?
30 seconds.
That's pretty good, 26 seconds. So if you've got a 5-minute interview, you're pretty much going to be engaging only those who have what I call individual interest. They're really passionate about this story. They may have prior knowledge. They might have a relationship. There's some reason why they really want to engage. But the other 80% of the audience, which I call scanners and seekers, will typically only watch your video for 26 seconds, which means it kind of touches on the basis of our foundation for a good mobile story. That is, it's better, in my opinion, at least according to my research, that people will engage with more short clips than they will with one mother of all interviews on a 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute, 5-minute interview. So if you can edit them up and write around those clips and inform your audience with these short, very important expert clips that come from your interviewee, I would argue that you're going to really be much more effective and efficient in reaching the mobile audience.
Have you seen any research on that actually working?
Yes, I've been doing it since 2008 with eye tracking and with thousands of surveys and observations only on mobile devices. However, as a disclaimer, it's primarily with the next generation of mobile users, people who are 18 to 21 years of age. I'm very interested in not where we are today, but where we're going to be 5 years from now as the journalism industry. So my research focuses on what are these digital natives, so-called digital natives, what are they going to be wanting and needing and using when it comes to journalism, multimedia journalism. So those are the two things so far, right? Horizontal and getting close. Now there's another really interesting thing that I can talk about, because we're talking about the limitations of the memory in your device. So you probably don't want to interview somebody like me who can't shut up. And what happens when you do have this interviewee who talks and talks and talks, but you have limited, you're starting to sweat a little bit because you have limited memory, and you want to get to the next question. This position actually gives you a lot of flexibility with this problem. And I say there are three things that you can keep in mind before you actually interview this person. You can say, first of all, this is a mobile device. I know it's a little awkward. You're typically maybe used to a larger camera. It has limited memory. So I'm going to ask you to, be comprehensive in your response, but be to the point. I really would like to, when I ask you a question, I really want you to get to the heart of the question and explain it as clearly as you can for my audience, which would be awesome. The second thing I would tell them, if you're comfortable with this. Now, in the old traditional journalism days, when I was taking the class, we would never shake our head yes, because that would suggest to the interviewee that perhaps I'm agreeing with his or her position or point or whatever. So I say this. You're going to see me nod my head while you're talking. It doesn't mean I'm agreeing with you, but it means I got what I need. So as you're talking, particularly like a scientist like me, who again will talk forever about their research, when I start shaking my head, thank you, great, I'm gonna go to the next question.
Does that not like bump the video?
If I shake my head,
Yeah.
no. I mean, unless I'm drinking, I'm pretty sure I can hold this as steady as possible. I mean, I don't go like this, but or wink or whatever, some sort of. Yeah, no, don't wink. Yeah, that's right. Second thought, don't wink. But what I'm trying to say is we're preparing our interviewee for this new environment, for this new device. The third, actually there are 4 techniques. The third one that I would do is this person has talked for 10 minutes, and I would say that was an excellent answer, but I'm going to also post a summary of this story on my blog, make something up. Can you just summarize what you just said in 30 seconds? So what's wrong with turning it back on and having them summarize what they thought was the main point anyway? You may not even have to edit it. So that's the third option. These are just, they're not rules. They're up to you if you're comfortable doing it, if you get into this situation. And the fourth and final one, which is kind of sneaky but fun, is if you're like this and your finger is on the record button and she's talking, I can secretly stop recording at any moment and still pretend I'm recording her, not moving the device, but I've stopped because I'm really concerned about memory. And to be honest with you, if there was one long interview and you ran out of memory, it's going to be awkward. You're going to say, either you need another device, you're going to have to delete what already filled up your memory and start over. There's a lot of problems with that. So this is nothing that really should be taken lightly. It's a very serious component of mobile journalism if you're interviewing someone and asking them multiple questions. Questions, comments, observations?
Can you talk about lighting for video?
Yep, that's coming up. Excellent. So we have horizontal. We have microphone close to the individual. And I did hint that, I do suggest, even though most people do this, but in case there's ever any question, a reminder, shoot at eye level. If she's sitting, I won't stand. I'll sit. And if she's standing, I won't sit. I'll stand. Eye level. So unless you're height challenged like I am, you pretty much will want to probably sit for the most part because of the differences in height. But eye level is always good. Why? Because if you work in television already, you know that a person looking up or a person looking down at you, it doesn't look natural. So eye level. And then the audio, and then what are some of the things you do to make sure you're capturing the best possible video clips and audio clips that you could edit easily and certainly not fill up your memory. So the next rule would be lighting. That's pretty simple, actually. What's the rule? If those of you in photojournalism.
Have the light source behind you.
Yep, main light source always behind you. So the students that I send out to interview the experts on campus, the first thing I tell them is if there's a window in the office, you either say, kindly may I close the drapes or the blinds, or worst case scenario, you would ask that interviewee if he or she would move so that you could be behind that person and the light would be behind you. And you explain to that person that unless I move you, I'm going to get too much brightness here, and you're going to look like somebody who doesn't want to be identified on camera, some illegal activity or something, a silhouette. So lighting is important, but it's relatively easy. So in 1 second or less, you're going to walk in, you're going to say the person is sitting here, okay, and I'm going to extend my thing, I'm going to frame her, and the lighting is not good, so I'm going to move around, and the light is behind me. Now at the same time, don't forget my comment about how it overcompensates for light to the extent that even these lights up here would be some light fixtures that you would want to avoid. So you might say, okay, the window's behind me, but without any real reason, you're tilting up a little bit too high for these lights, which will also be effervescent and too bright on your mobile video. So you keep it down. I would avoid any projectors, fluorescent lights, lamps in the background. Those things will all be overcompensated. And then the rule of thirds, where they will be talking into a little bit of airspace. And so my suggestion, and the students that get the A in my class, are those who have the individual frame 2/3 of the frame with 1/3 of air. 2/3 face, 1/3 air. And the reason why that's so important from the consuming standpoint is that if you're going to watch this video on your mobile phone, that large face becomes an important, engaging, viewing component. That with these small screens, all too often, those of us who used to work in TV too long, we do the establishing shot, this real wide picture or video of the stadium or whatever. Unless there's a reason for that very wide shot, those close-ups are paramount to that small screen viewer. It's so important to them to see your face and to see what it is that you're talking about. So the close-ups, in general, the close-ups are far more important and usable on these mobile devices. So you'll have to ask yourself, what is my audience? Is it a variety of audience that will be visiting this video online on their laptops, or will it be, and I would argue that with an increasing number, with each passing year, there'll be more and more and more of the audience engaging with this content on their mobile phone. So it's only going to get more important with time, what you're learning today, in my opinion. Yes?
I had a speaker talking about photography.
Good.
When they were saying taking headshots, it's actually better to have somebody like in a corridor rather than up against a wall. Is that
Yes.
the same for video?
Yes, that is good. You never want to really back anyone up against the wall, particularly if it's I mean, this is a pretty color, don't get me wrong, but it's boring. It would be nice if there was something behind them other than a brick wall or a solid color, and you bring them away from the wall or down a corridor. You give depth of field. There would be a little bit of more interest in this picture if you could show this person away from the wall. Maybe there's something behind them. Hopefully nothing too distracting. I mean, you don't want sports fans in the back yelling and screaming and so forth, but unless you have to. But in general, you want to avoid just that brick wall outside the building or a plain white wall. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So are you ready for round 2?
What was number 6?
It should be horizontal, audio, extending, framing, lighting, techniques for keeping your interview short, and rule of thirds, right?
Oh, okay, framing.
Yeah. Well, framing would include the fact that their face should be 2/3
Okay.
of the frame, 1/3 air, but their face needs to be a little bit off center. So that's the rule of thirds.
I think you should, one thing that I learned, you should try to put your phone in airplane mode so that you aren't getting calls or anything in the middle of your interview, because it'll interrupt the recording.
Good idea. Another thing is that unfortunately, because Apple is so eager to help you out, it has a thing called autofocus. And what happens is, if you still have autofocus on while you're interviewing somebody, if they move just a little bit, or you move a little bit, you're going to, I don't know if I can demonstrate it, but if you move it a little bit, or they move a little bit, it's going to want to refocus your video. And if I was very close, like if you look at the yellow boxes around the two faces, they're not only special people here today, but it is the iPhone device attempting to focus primarily on their faces. That's the autofocus feature. Well, when you're really close up to someone, and particularly if they're like moving around or they're swirling in their chair, you're going to start to see what looks like an earthquake. An earthquake, you're going to see it trying to compensate by moving in and out. Does anyone know how to turn off autofocus so you don't get any movement?
Are you just go to your settings?
top bar.
Pardon?
There's a little icon.
Yeah.
You just press your finger on it and hold, and it says at the top, AEAF lock, autofocus lock. It now, because I'm pressing my finger and holding it against the screen, I've just turned off autofocus.
And once it,
And once you
the
take it
yellow
off,
comes up-
it's still, as long as you've got that yellow box, until I touch it again, then it's back. But touching it and holding it once will retain that status of autofocus lock until you touch the finger to the screen again. Yes?
Did you say there's an auto contrast on there too?
Depends on the app. That depends on the app. Autofocus is a built-in feature of the phone, but the contrast would be a function of what the app is seeing. Does anyone use any video apps now? When you shoot video, anyone using? I mean, there are more than 60 good free mobile apps for video, so.
Is there anything that can like fuzz out in editing?
Yes, you can. You
Like
can
fuzz out a license plate or something?
Yes, well, that pretty much, if it's a license plate, you pretty much need to do that as post-editing, where you would import it into Final Cut Pro or Photoshop if you need to add a little bit of fuzziness.
And you can do that on.
Do those have photo or phone apps now?
Pardon?
Photoshop has a great
Does
phone
Photoshop
app.
Photoshop does, and so does Final Cut Pro, but you, I mean, Final Cut Pro, I don't know how much it is. It's like, is it for the phone?
Oh, I don't know.
That's my
I think it's $49
For the phone app?
for Final Cut Pro on the
Compared to what
phone.
it-
But the apps are, I mean,
But the big, the full-blown feature for your desktop.
Photoshop's app is actually
We use Adobe.
All right, so let's review. Here's your quiz time. What are the things you have to think about in 1 second or less?
horizontal.
Don't read your notes. Can't read your notes.
Audio.
What about audio?
Be very close.
Hold it closer to them than it is to you. And if you are going to ask the question on camera, I mean, this is I don't tell my students until after they flunk doing this, but those who don't actually extend their arms, I can tell that they've asked their question on camera when the device is like this. What do you think about today's weather? And then you hear, I could say your device was closer to your mouth than it was to their mouth, so they did not do this. And then other than audio, what else?
Prep your interviewee.
Yep. However you want to do it, make them feel more comfortable. Part of that would be, I do about 3 or 4 questions at the most on my mobile device because of the limited memory. The first question is, for me, I say, please state your last name, how do you pronounce it, how do you spell it, and your title. So I have that on screen, and I also wanted to just get a feel for, are they uncomfortable looking around? How comfortable are they looking at me? And then I would ask a story-related question, not the dagger yet, but the main focus of what I want to introduce this story with. And then the second question pretty much is the real key issue that I want them as an expert to share their experience or perspective or opinion, whatever. So I ask those 3 questions, and by the time I get to that third question, I have a pretty good idea of how comfortable they are, where they're looking. I might even say, I notice you're looking at the camera. If you don't mind, just feel comfortable to look at me, just because I think the audience
Will be weirded out.
well, I wouldn't say exactly that, but the audience is basically saying, well, where does this person want to look? They don't know if they should be looking off camera or on camera, and they look a little confused. We don't want to give that impression to the audience. So now you're going to go and you're going to pick someone different, and you're going to interview them with what you thought were some things that you learned just now that you did not know before. I hope that you have at least one thing. But I want you to come back with the perfect audio, excellent lighting, framing, steadiness. Let me mention briefly this. This is an optional thing. Of course, people are wondering about, well, what about steadiness? Because we don't have a tripod. For the phones, of course, you can, again, buy a pretty cheap adapter that would allow you, if you want to carry around a tripod, you could put that tripod up, and then you just have this button that you have to press, but it would definitely be steady. For my students, I say, you know, as a mobile journalist, I accept the fact that there's going to be a little bit of movement. They don't lose any points if they move a little bit. That's just human nature, and that's just what we're going to see a lot of when it comes to photojournalists out in the field, particularly with breaking news. And they don't have time to set up for that nice, perfect shot with steadiness. So you just do your best. But there are some techniques, like if I'm interviewing you in your office, I could, of course, brace my two elbows. That's a nice way to keep it steady, yet still close to you. You could use books. If you're standing up, believe it or not, the research does show that bracing yourself against the wall like this does help. I don't know why. It also indicates, in case you're really into this, is that you'll be much more steady with an iPad than you will with an iPhone. Something to do with, I don't know, something to do with the body and the ability to hold a larger object and be steadier than a small object, which apparently is more sensitive to your movements. I don't know why, I can't explain it, but just sharing with you what I've learned also from other colleagues. Yes? You have a question? Okay.
What about a monopod? Like one of those selfie sticks?
That's good. That's good. Yeah,
I like the monopod a lot.
Yeah, that's good. Anything that you can brace, anything can be steady, won't certainly hurt. All right, so we've got 5 minutes. Pick somebody else. And what did you learn today in the last 5 minutes you did not know before? And if you didn't learn anything, make something up.
Yes. Can I just interview you?
I know just that
Here. Let's do this. I want you to sit.
Oh wow.
But I want you to sit kind of closer to where he was at.
I know that there are
Closer in.
Maybe sit on this chair.
Yeah, and she needs to close that. Can you close that door?
I'm just worried that sending to an email, if they're too
But don't turn the light on.
email might be buggy on it. Should they just
So you want me to sit here?
Yeah, sit.
send it?
We'll go.
But pull it over as far as it'll go. Perfect.
It still has to either send it.
Now you're gonna have to look at me over here.
Or
Sure.
they would have
Problem.
to establish
I want to try something. So go ahead and turn your perfect.
Body.
I just want to try something real quick.
I don't know if they've done that.
You look really naturally good. Although
Right,
I need
some of them may not have
to.
done that.
See, they're behind us now.
You think it's distracting? Having them do it?
I just want to see if it blows you out if I just.
So it doesn't really matter.
Wow.
What do you think? I'd get you closer, but
You gotta look
I'd
at
get
me.
you closer.
Is this
It doesn't look like you're looking at me.
Yeah. Looking straight into your eyes.
Well, that's.
Maybe because of the way the
Yeah,
camera.
they have
We work
a.
with journalists all the time.
This is
Yeah.
a problem. You see, it's way over here. Do me a favor. Look here.
Okay.
But no. Look at like my. Look
Ear.
at that. Look at that ear.
Okay.
Still not working.
That plays a
Stand up. See, this is actually. I want to ask him a question about this. This is kind of. Let's come over here real quick. This is weirding me out.
Yeah. It's
I'm having a
really good feature.
Okay.
All right.
Hi.
It's still not.
It's still off center.
Still like you're looking way too. Or
Maybe your arm should be straight out. Stretch it straight out and put it right. Stretch arm.
see what it is it's you're looking at me here and it's like
Do you want to try it on my iPhone to see if it's a device?
Well, it can't be the device.
Oh, no.
I'm just trying to.
Oh, so it takes a while.
Trying to hear it.
To process.
Woo!
Oh my God.
See the microphone.
Sorry. No, it's fine.
No.
I'm gonna try.
Lots of cords.
There are a lot of cords here.
This is so weird to try.
Yeah.
You want to get him now to see, to check out what the...
Oh.
Well, the problem is
It is? This is the computer right there.
You're right, it's not good.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the computer is being used the rest of the day, so it needs.
I'm thinking that you probably would need to
so weird.
because you'd have it self-contained.
Okay, and I want to try it on mine.
Ready
Let me
to
try it
go.
really quickly to see how you
I
come
don't
up
know
on my
what are you
iPhone.
using for editing.
Let's see.
We're going to be using video for that.
Because then if we're both having the issue...
Well,
we
it's
just have-
mine's a wider
And is
screen,
anyone else
Ah.
telling them
but I
about
didn't
video issues?
get a chance to even ask you a question.
Okay.
Let me at least just try it.
Anyone?
Wait, they're asking.
Oh,
Do
I'm
you want
sorry.
us to email these again?
Okay.
Yes, please. Bring that.
So they're just going to be
Ask me
using
over
video
here.
issues today, and then they're
So I need to tell them how to do it on video issues, right?
How are you going to change the
How to
world?
use video issues. No one else is going to be telling them how to use video. I don't know what the rest of
Question.
wait one second. Let me grab an agenda.
Go with that.
Make sure with
That's
my
really random.
What is the best?
I'm going to stop real quick.
Sure.
So, Clarissa, what I really need to know is in 10 seconds or less, I need you to summarize for me.
Use two
How,
hands.
how are you going to change the world?
You know what? I think with journalism, there is a way to change the world just by informing people and giving them quality, good information.
Cool, let's see.
So your position in your space, you would
I think with journalism, there is a way to change the world just by informing people and giving them quality information. It came out okay. Or what do you find with feedback?
Well, what I'm having a problem with is the way that I'm trained is when I interview you, or where you always have the microphone in the direction that your mouth is pointing. My microphone is way over here, see, to get it to work. The microphone is like on the wrong side.
Okay, then if you flip it and get a
So if
closer
I flip it, then the camera is way over here, and then I'll show you. And then I'll show you the difference. Is how are you going to change it? Clarissa, it's like how are you going to change it? It's like it doesn't even.
It doesn't even. I don't even come up.
You're like sideways
Awkward.
almost. Yeah.
Well,
do you want to
well,
try it?
I want to try it with you and see.
no wider than that. No, that's the audio, okay.
See, right now your microphone's way over here. So, but you gotta do the thing where you're like holding it out.
Is the microphone now closer to you?
Well, you still gotta. He doesn't want you to do it straight on like that. Remember, he wants you profile.
But you are on profile. But look at me when I'm talking.
Right.
But,
See what I mean? Your microphone's over here, and I want to find a way to have the microphone in between me and you.
it looks like you're looking up. Like when I'm making eye contact with me. It looks like you're just looking
You
off to
touch
the
the
side.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, it does look.
See what I mean?
It looks weird.
So right now, laptop is
It
not
looks like
plugged
your
in.
eyes are wandering.
Here.
Oh, this is Clarissa.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you really low on battery?
No, Clarissa can go under the table. If you see, Clarissa, there's a green extension cord
I
under the
see it.
table.
All right. So you've got the email to me. And then while we're waiting here for the last uploads, does everyone have Videolicious on their device? It is an app for iPhone.
What is your?
I don't believe there's a. Does anyone have a Droid with Videolicious on it? I don't even know if it's available. But while we're waiting for the videos to process, I want to make sure all of you have Videolicious that you downloaded from the App Store. And ideally, even though I didn't.
Mobile 3.0? No.
No, we didn't even get to that.
Oh, I thought mobile 3.0.
What I'm going to do is leave you with the ability to view Mobile 3.0 because I have a special menu I created for you that will give you all the resources that I touched upon here during my talk. So I'll talk about Mobile 3.0 in a minute. That was just meant to give you some additional things to take with you and a resource of other information. But the Videolicious app was one that a lot of mobile journalists use, and I wasn't going to require you to open up a new account online with Videolicious. That would be the second phase of this, which would be setting up a free account on Videolicious so that all of the video from your mobile device will automatically upload to the Videolicious cloud, and that would mean something that your news department, news director, whatever, would be able to immediately access it, and it would be confined to only your media from your phone. So that's how journalists in the field get their videos back to the newsroom, and sometimes they will use it to edit even before uploading. So we'll spend the next 15 minutes reviewing the process of how to narrate and maybe marry your introduction or your narrative with an interview that you conducted and then upload it, because Videolicious will actually marry those two things. You won't have to edit anything if you do it right. So we'll talk about that in a minute. In the meantime, let's look at some of your, I'm going to pick like randomly 2 or 3 of our limited time. So Kimberly, you are the person. Is this a new one?
Yes. Like
Excellent.
the professor's comments about framing and leaving airspace for the viewer. It's definitely more pleasing to see videos.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
So I mean, this is really professional. Yeah, let's hear it, right? Much better in terms of framing. She's looking off camera, and nice lighting. Somewhat of an interesting thing here. The average person may not know exactly what that is, but definitely no farther than this. The first metric that I use would be the audio, and as long as the audio is good, and it was, then okay. Should it be a little bit closer? Could it be a little bit closer? Of course.
Does it matter what side they're on?
No, it doesn't.
So
Doesn't
being
to
on
me.
the right is not better than being on
Doesn't matter to me.
I actually, when I used to film with camera guys,
Yeah.
we were doing a long, like a piece with a lot of interviews. They would have me alternate so that everyone wouldn't be looking at the same way off camera in every shot.
With the same individual?
No, different individuals.
Yeah.
Like when we were conducting multiple interviews, he'd be like,
Yeah.
last time you were on my right shoulder, this time be on my left.
Yeah, for
shoulder.
different individuals, that would vary a little bit. I wouldn't suggest it with the same person who might.
This is like a package where you had multiple people.
Excellent. Yes, exactly. And so the issue a question that came up during break was whether or not this person should be larger, 2/3. And my answer to that is, if it's just a white wall, there's no reason to keep her just 1/3 with 2/3 of white wall. I mean, if there's really nothing that visualizes or contributes to the story visually, then I do believe the face should be larger, up to 2/3. It's mobile journalism. It's going to have a little bit of a different set of rules. The rule of thirds means basically off-center, but keep their face and the audio at a good level. Is this a new one?
No.
That's a no.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not 2/3. That's not framed. We don't point. We don't know who did that. That's anonymous. Good. 2/3. That's very good. Okay. And I don't like them looking at the camera. That's just me. That's excellent. Is that mine? No, I'm just kidding. Very good job, whoever did that. This is interesting. Again, it does get us to that important point for you to realize that if they're supposed to be looking in this direction, and that's really cool with this sign here, have them turn their body a little bit, so it would not only make them look as though that he's facing this area as well, but it just naturally will lead to that person looking off to the side there. It's a little awkward if they're facing that way and they're looking this way and we have this framing here. So it's not, that's an A-. Don't get me wrong. But it would be, I suggest that you try to avoid that person either facing the opposite direction that you want them to look into or straight ahead at you, because that might get them to look at you as opposed to, and another good secret that students will reveal that they did it improperly is that if they're holding their device, pretend this is my phone, the individual is going to tend to look at you, and if you're like this, they're going to look straight ahead at you because they're looking at your eyes. So this almost forces them to look at you without looking straight ahead. So they will tend to look at you wherever you are. So where you're positioned, that's really important. So that's good. And there's the corridor effect. Yes?
And today I learned that you should think about airspace as well as face space, and have about 2/3 of a person's face.
So my only question is a little bit larger yet. I still think if you watch this on your phone, it would look more compelling if she was larger. I mean, we have to always think about that little phone screen in terms of consumption of this day. All right, so now we're going to talk about Videolicious. Open up. Yes. Yes.
So there's a bunch of different things you have to do
Yes.
to make the video good.
Yes.
So what's wrong with just telling the person you're interviewing to do all the things that you want them to do beforehand? You know, like, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be looking at me. You have to keep your answers short. And then that way that cuts out having to worry about it all.
Yes, that's an option. If it's not breaking news or something you really got to, something in the White House. I mean, I've had... I teach here's a self-promotion, Saturday certificate course in multimedia production for returning professionals. We've been doing it for 3 years in Maryland, and I have this great collection of people like you who have excellent writing skills, and you come and you learn mobile journalism and multi-platform journalism on Saturdays. But we've had people from the White House and other AP and so forth who have said, I'm just sick of being beat by these younger people who are quickly doing this stuff, running out of the conference room and getting it on the air or getting it to their paper first. So it depends how much time you have. And if you have the luxury of reviewing all that with your interviewee, that's perfectly fine. Great, why not? But I am teaching as though you have a one-shot deal to get this, to capture whatever it is that you're videotaping. So you're into Videolicious, and when it opens up, it starts with new video in the upper right-hand corner. And it's going to take you through 3 different steps. One is select the videos and photos you would like to include in your movie. Well, it's already assuming that you either have a photo that you've taken on your phone or a video that you've recorded. And let's say I have not yet recorded my video. So in the lower left-hand corner, you're going to see the ability to actually record your own video, which would be either this room or it would be me saying, I'm here at the National Press Foundation, and I would get my finger on the side there. But if you are on site and you want to appear on camera, this would be called a stand-up in the field, then you would use that perspective. In the upper right, I would click, of course, to use my other camera. Either way, Videolicious expects you to record the interview or your brief introduction first. So if I record it, 3, 2, 1, and then I stop it, let's say I've got 5 seconds of that, it's saving it to my camera roll. It's your standard camera roll with all your photos and all of your videos. And you've already got it. And if you want any guidance after today, you can always click on the little mortarboard in the lower right, and it's going to show you exactly what it is that I'm describing to you, where you're able to record the videos. So on my videos, it's uploading. Okay, it still says 41%. It's going to take some time to process. But what Videolicious does is it will take you through the step of selecting either your video that you recorded or the video of the interviewee that you recorded, and it'll put them together automatically and upload to the cloud or upload to your news organization, whatever it is. That's the extent of the editing that it does, which is marrying your video, your own stand-up, with video that you've shot of another person. Or you could do back-to-back videos that you shot of that person. So here's my camera roll. I can select that. Let's see, here it is. That is it. That's my first video that I'm going to shoot, that I'm going to feature in my edited version. And let's say this person up here is my second. Maybe that was me talking on camera. Once I save, it says film yourself and talk about the videos. If you want to do a stand-up of you on interviewing, of introducing these videos, this is where you would click on the camera and do it, or in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to skip. It says you can choose a song. I don't think as journalists we have to worry about any song background. I'm going to skip that. And so now, before I upload, here is what it did for me. It put that brief video that I just shot of this room with this individual. And then all I do is hit save, and it says, okay, what kind of resolution do you want of your video? Is it really the high quality that's going to take more memory and more time to upload, or do you want a quick upload? So that's all it is you record your video and photos, you go into Videolicious and press the little boxes that I did in the order that you want to show your video. So if it's you saying, I'm standing here in downtown DC and I interviewed blah, 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 that little clip that you recorded, that would be number 1. And then the person that you interviewed would be number 2, and you're now ready to marry those two. It will edit it for you. It will put them together for you.
Will it edit? So does this give you the flexibility to edit out like space that you don't want, or is it just going to take the entire clip?
It's going to take the clip.
Well, that's...
And so if I just save this now, I will give it a title. I could give it a description. And when I hit save, it's processing it and uploading it to my cloud. So I've already done an on-site, probably what I think, which I don't know exactly what you're going to do today, but I think you're going to be some sort of on-camera narrative saying, I interviewed blah, blah, blah about blah, 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 and he says this is the best thing since sliced bread, and then you'll just be selecting their video that you've conducted, much like you just did moments ago. That's why I wanted to take you through this process of exactly how it feels to do this high-quality interview. And then you just marry those two together and upload. And that would be it. I mean, that could take a minute, depending on how long they take.
You could just as easily do some like voiceover B-roll as well if you didn't want to do like the awkward selfie,
Yes,
right?
yes, you can.
Or even a photograph.
Right, or a photo. If you take a photo of this room, I could, when I went to that little screen of all the different things on my camera roll, I could select the interview I want to do, and then I could actually select me talking on camera. And while I'm talking, I could be overlaying my face with the photos on my phone.
And you can choose how long you want the photo to stay up.
Yes, you do. When you press those photos, you'll be able to move it along in the sequence that you want, depending on how much time you want to spend. You're going to have to practice it, like everything else. In fact, the whole thing about the first hour is if I just stood here and lectured to you and say, this is what you do, these 6 things, I'm hoping that you learn more by actually doing it. And that's the whole point of practice, is that you really have to, the more you do it, the better you're going to be at it. But it takes more than one shot, whether you're just learning what you just did or whether you're working with Videolicious. I guess you have all day, so that's good. But it is pretty simple. Uploading to. You could edit, you could delete here. It says change the sound volume for my videos. Like if you're interviewing him, I could change the audio level of that person before it's uploaded. So basically all it does is aggregate whatever it is that you want to put together, gives you the option to adjust the volume and the sequence that you're going to show this piece. Like say, if it's a 1 minute standalone video piece, it's all done for you. It does not give you that real sophisticated editing that Final Cut Pro does, where you're able to trim and all that kind of stuff. That goes beyond the scope, I think, of what this 1 hour is supposed to be about. But I'm available every Saturday morning if you want to take a class. Yes.
Is there an easy program though to trim? Like say you have someone, you have a 5-minute interview.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And you just
Ooh, hope you don't spend 5 minutes.
What?
Your native app will allow you to trim it. Your native app.
I was just playing with it. What you do is
Yes.
you like, there's the timeline that appears on top. If you hold down on it,
Yes.
a yellow bar comes up.
And it'll make a new, like it'll make a new clip. as
It'll
opposed to-
trim, yes, it'll save that trip. It's in your native app. It does give you very limited editing. What I was told today is that you have to appear on with the clip that you're going to shoot, and that's what Videolicious does. It marries your clip with their clip. And that's the easiest way to do it. But if you want to just shoot specific individual clips and not be included in your video, then you would do what she just said, would just shoot them, and then at the end of your video, you'll be able to see the ability for you to trim the video on your phone using the Apple app.
And just one more. For the
Yes.
Videolicious, though,
Yes.
The only ones you can marry are the ones you
Have shot.
record through Videolicious.
Yes.
No, you can
No?
marry your photos and video on
Oh.
your phone.
So you could trim a clip and then take that trimmed clip into the
Yes,
video.
yes, you could do that. Yes, anything on your photo and your video, the camera roll, Videolicious looks at. It's brought up all the things on my camera roll and allowed me to select. So that's good clarification.
And just one more.
No problem.
If you're like, you know, your organization, your bosses don't have Videolicious, will that save will that save the, you know, your final video? You put together your pictures and your video in the one clip, right? Will that save something that you can send, will that save something on your phone or in the cloud that they can download? Or they
Yes, that's where that account, that free account, if you wanted to sign up for it, comes into place. Because on Videolicious.com,
Do you have to have an account to use the app?
no, but you have to have an account to upload to the cloud.
Do you have to have an account to email it to somebody?
When I went through and hit save, it was like share on Facebook,
Yeah.
or email. Or
Yeah, social media. You could post it to social media if you want. If you're comfortable going right to Twitter or Facebook, you can do that.
So there are a few options, and we're going to be using Videolicious later, and you'll be sending your videos to us so we can show them as a group. There are a few options that come up, like Tal said, that you can upload directly to YouTube, where you can just send an email of the clip, and what we're going to want you to do is just send an email to us that'll have the clip. And if the email system becomes buggy for whatever reason, you can always upload to YouTube and then send a link.
Another important thing to know is that there is a really cool app from YouTube. It's a native YouTube app called Capture. And if you download Capture, it will allow you to conduct some basic editing, but it will upload directly to YouTube. It's your direct connection. It is all YouTube compatible. So Capture is relatively new. It's about a year and a half, and they've made some big improvements. I'll close with this. This is my Videolicious account for my class. I invited them to become contributors. And so everything they record, I'm sure they probably kind of regret this at some point, where everything they record on their phone, they have to know if they're using their Videolicious, I'm going to see it. It's going to upload to this private news organization site that I set up with Videolicious. Videolicious offers this to news organizations where in your newsroom, let's say you have 10 reporters using Videolicious, then that person back in the newsroom would see everything automatically uploaded, ready to post or ready to broadcast. So that's one of the beauty of Videolicious. It really is made for quick mobile journalism for news organizations. I guess I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.